Your brain needs to be available. That is a statement I just heard from Dr. Annick Vincent, who's an internationally renowned speaker and author, psychiatrist with a community-based specialized practice in ADHD in Quebec, Canada, and is actively involved in providing better education and support for individuals living with ADHD and their caregivers. And she is now involved with the Fondation Philippe Laprise. Dr. Annick, nice to meet you and good to see you.
Good to see you too.
What did you mean that our brain needs to be available? It makes a lot of sense to me, but I can't really communicate it yet.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about ADHD. So when we talk about ADHD, we're talking about our ability to attend. When our brain needs to be able to focus, to orient the attention, to filtrate, to decide what's important, what is not important, to coordinate a lot of things, to be able to, if you are, let's say, overwhelmed by an emotion, to be able to regulate that. If you feel itchy, maybe move or not move and things like that. So it occupies a lot of space in our brain, all those kind of chief orchestra functions. When you live with ADHD, or if you experience ADHD-like symptoms, that is, you don't have ADHD, but right now it looks like you have it.
Depending on the situation, condition, or other mental health. Yeah.
So there's a lot of people out there who need to be aware of what regulates our attention, what kind of elements modulate our capacity to attend. So first, you need to know that there are basic elements like, did you sleep enough? Did you eat okay? Did you move enough?
Right.
Your health condition, if you are in pain, if your body is repairing something. So there's a lot of things that will, influence your capacity to attend. Then it will also be everything that is around you or within you that could distract you. The task that you're doing, what kind of task it is. Is it interesting? Not interesting?
Yeah.
Is it hard for you? Do you need to be learning something to do it? So again, this will take space in your brain. It will occupy. So there are many items like that. So I
just want to make a point of attention or information for people. When you say attend, Dr. Annick, she means being attentive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being attentive.
Yeah.
If you want to be attentive, you need to have your brain working at its best.
Yeah.
Knowing that your brain is doing a lot of things all the time that may not be related to attention. So there's a lot of things going on there. So when I'm talking about space, you could talk about, I don't know if you're aware of the term working memory.
Yeah, I hardly have one.
So even if it's out there, the information somewhere stored in your brain, you have to retrieve it to be able to find it somewhere. So there's a lot of action going on there.
So, in working memory is the memory that where you can manipulate and store information and the amount you can.
Well, the working memory is really, you have information stored, you have new information going on, and it's the juggler.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll manipulate all that and be able to retrieve it when you need it. So it's the ongoing memory that is helping you.
And if you got too much brought in, then the other stuff falls off the shelf and it's gone. It's not that we forgot, it's just gone because of us or poor, or what the medical community calls a poor working memory functionality. So
there are some experts who talk about working memory space needed for the brain. Like, let's say that you have a glass of water. The glass is the space available to do whatever you want to do. The water here in my glass is whatever is already occupying your brain. So it could be all the stimuli that you have to take care of, all the thoughts, all the stress that you have, all the challenges that you have. If you have a learning disability, if you have ADHD, if it's a task that is new for you, that you have to get a lot of information from the teacher or whatever, then there's less and less space to do whatever you want to do. So when I talk about the fact that your brain needs to be available, I'm talking about that space that
Yeah.
is
So
left.
that's one of the reasons I use logbooks all the time. If I just write it down so I don't forget it, and I can create space to bring in more information.
Yeah. So what's really important is whenever we want to be able to be attentive,
Mhm.
we need to take that into account. Right now, how is my brain available? What's the availability I have? Am I rested? Is my brain open to
Right.
whatever new or to whatever I'm is it motivated? Am I motivated to do it? Am I overwhelmed by other thoughts or other things, that are in my brain right now?
Or emotional dysregulated with a situation or emotions.
Yeah, it could be. So then we could talk about, the fact that right now we are overwhelmed by a lot of things,
Mhm.
a lot of distractors, this included, but there's also something there. We have ghosts in our head. Those are all the tasks that are not done or in process, and we are keeping them in our working memory because we need to think about it because it's
Yep.
not finished yet. So when you're at work, you may be thinking of whatever is related to work, but you also may be thinking about whatever is related to what's happening at home or in your relationship. Or
Yep.
so you have all those bubbles going on in your head. One thing that we do know is that women may have more burden than men in that part. They have more often the kind of burden to juggle with everything going at home and work, planning, being
Mhm.
the strategic, being the executive secretary of the family.
Right. Yeah. I've heard that term before. Yep.
Yeah. So if you have ADHD, being the executive secretary for whatever is a big challenge.
Yeah. Well.
Well, if you also have that kind of role in your family, whether you're a woman or you're a man, you know, you have to know that if you are overwhelmed, there are things that you could do. First being, aware that you are overwhelmed. And then look, you know, whatever you're doing, whatever you're taking care of, is it really your responsibility? Are you the only one who can do it? Can you share that? Can you express that you need help? Where can you find that help? How can you share
Yeah.
that? Yeah. This is why, in fact, in one book that I wrote called My Brain Still Needs Glasses, it's for those who live with AD. There is a tool there inside that talks about how can we share whatever we're doing in the house world for the kids, but also for the house and everything like that. So who's
Mhm.
doing what and in what proportion? That could be something that we. And again, the other thing is, am I doing all that? And is it taking so much space because I need perfection? Could be
Or
that.
perfectionism. Yep.
If
Yep.
yeah, so it could also be that. It could also be that I'm living with someone or I'm working with someone. I'm not trusting enough that person to be able to do it the way I would like it to be done or the way it should be done. That's different.
Still a form of perfectionism.
Well, but it could also be that I am working with someone with his own challenges or her own challenges,
Okay.
and that
Got.
I
Yeah. Yep.
feel
Yep.
like, I want to help. So I'll take some of her task or his task to do it. If
Right.
you have kids, how
Yeah.
many parents will do things, that the kids could do, but it would take more time, we're going to be more messy. And we finally say, okay, I'll do that. In the short way, you're helping yourself, but in the long way, you're not.
Mhm.
And you're not helping the kid also because the kid needs to be able to develop that skill also.
So besides asking for help, what else can be done to are these patterns expected of you or the way you were raised or taught or perfectionism, workaholism?
It's interesting. We don't know. There's a lot of things out there that could be cultural, could be, let's say, men
Mm.
versus women, who
Yep.
should do that, who should do what is in our genes and what is really related to culture. Because it's funny because as a doctor, I know that if I call for if I call the parents, usually if I talk to the father will say, well, I'll let my wife
My
talk to
wife
me.
knows it.
She knows it. Okay, so things like that. So I don't think that father cannot do it. I'm sure they can, but I'm not sure in the way either we share things or we feel comfortable with, but there's something there. So for that mom is always the person, well, okay, she'll do that or she'll do that aspect. That may be a burden. If it's not a burden, that's okay. But if it feels like a burden or if it is a burden, it's important that we talk about it with our partner to see, how can we work this together as a team. There's also a way to talk with each other. I'm going
Mhm.
to I'm going to be using words that may be shocking.
Okay.
If
Hit
you're
me.
if you're living with someone who is struggling with organization
Like
or
being clean, cleanliness, and organized?
exactly
Yeah.
as a partner, it's difficult if that person doesn't want to have help or doesn't want to hear, of recommendations or things like that. Your coaching could be heard as bitching.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, nagging,
Exactly.
a
Nagging.
child-parent relationship.
Yeah. So it's important that if you decide to work as a team, to be able to know what the other one is able to or is wanting to have, what kind of collaboration you want, and also look at your language, look at the words you choose, the way you address a situation.
Mhm.
If it's difficult for you as a couple, there are couple therapists that can help you also with that. You can also read into it and things like that. But it's important not to stay in that burden alone.
So a lot of this burden that you're referring to, this is where it's tying up our brain and reduces the availability of it.
Surely. Yeah.
Okay. And an ADHD can aggravate this?
Well, in many ways, if let's say that if you have ADHD, you have ADHD since your childhood.
Mhm.
The severity of your symptoms, but also the way that people around you help you or help you not, will make a huge difference in the way you talk to yourself.
Mhm.
So if you talk to yourself, say, okay, I know it's difficult for me, but I'm gonna get through it. I'm gonna go through it step by step. If it's not today, I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna cut that in smaller part and things like that. If you're talking to you like that, you're talking to you like a coach who is coaching an athlete in the good way on the long term. If you talk to you like, again, you're not good, you will never be good, it's that cycle that comes back again. So you'll never get it. It will never work. Well, guess what? It will not work. And it will also increase your stress level because you're going to tell your amygdala in your brain that right now you're in danger. It won't work.
Yeah, yeah.
And that will increase your stress level and it will decrease your capacity to adapt. And you see the cycle.
Yeah, our ability to adapt. That's a good word.
Yeah. We use the term resiliency
Yeah.
to be resilient. So if you feel like you're overwhelmed like that, look at ways that you can build your resiliency capacity to be able to, even if you're under a stressful situation, how can you better adapt to that situation?
So you're talking a lot about the home. And the examples you're having using is home related. You brought up cultural differences or cultural intentions, or what's the word I'm trying to find? Influence, cultural influences. But at the same time, society has its own cultural influences even today. And this is what I'm hearing a lot of. Can a lot of this burden be influenced by a lot of these cultural and societal expectations of different people?
It could be from the outside, but it could be also from the inside. Your own
Right.
expectation that will be too much. Let's say you're in a working environment where you have access to your working tools all the day, all the night, every night. And if you assume that you need to be accessible 24 hours, 7 days a week, you will be overwhelmed. That's for sure.
Right. Yep.
If your boss is telling you you have to be accessible, every day, you on call all the time, that's way different. And that's not a working environment that is healthy. It could be for a crisis situation, but it cannot be like that every
Not
day.
every day.
But some people maybe, since they have ADHD, they want to prove that they're good enough. They may have experienced other difficulties before, and this time they want to do it really, really good enough. The way they compensate is putting more hours into their work. And
Yep.
eventually they come in that kind of accessibility 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And other people kind of get used to it. We know we can reach you anytime, so we'll reach you at any time.
Yeah, because you're answering, you're doing what's
Yeah.
requested rather than putting barriers or boundaries on personal space. I'm guilty of that. I just figured that out after 48 years. I got to start putting them in place.
There's always a good time to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a very good point that the societal and cultural expectations is external and internal. And I never thought about the internal part. I always thought as an external thing. And I've always said with the ADHD side, it's more of a societal issue than an issue with the person. I know we have challenges and struggles, but in the end, the brain's wired this way and we just need to work with it. But society is not really geared to accept that kind of working. But we internalize that ourselves and change the way we do, or like people pleasing, falling short because it takes me. I remember I would spend almost 4 hours a day making sure everything was organized so I wouldn't forget something for my projects at work. So I do 4 hours before everyone shows up, do my 8-hour day, and then a couple hours to make sure everything is so it would not fall off the wagon. And that's extra work, and that just became a habit.
Yeah, and also masking. If you really, let's say you're struggling a lot,
Mm-hmm. You have
and
to fit in. You have to change the way you do things.
Yeah, it's not you feel like you have to.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. I felt like, to
Yeah.
me, it felt
And
like I
again,
needed to, but it felt like, And then
if
what I
we
figured out is I created a character that I played so well and I forgot who my true self was after a while.
And that's really interesting because in the brain, my last book, My Brain Needs to Focus, it's in French right now, not in English yet, but the S in focus, that's an acronym. The S is saliency. It has to make sense for you. You have to know yourself. You have to know your values. You have to know who you are. And you have to also have a direction. In French, it's sens.
Yep. Direction. Yep.
Yeah, a direction between who you are, what your intentions are, and what you're doing.
Yeah. And make sure it's for you as well, not just for everyone else.
Yeah,
There's a
it
big
cannot be
difference.
just for you, though.
No, I
You want
agree.
it to be,
But you need to have a part of that in there. Well, before a long time, I didn't do anything for me. It was for everyone else.
that's where, when we were talking about belonging,
Mm-hmm.
if it's really not for you, this or that at all, why would you knock on the door of that kind of activity?
Yeah.
Or that kind of work if it's not for you?
Yeah.
At least a little bit.
Sorry?
At least a little bit.
At least, yeah. But yeah, it's all different. Everyone's story is a bit different. Yeah, like you said, I felt like I had to, but for me, it felt like a need. I had no choice. But really, like you said, I never saw it that way. That I felt like I needed to, rather than needed to. So that's that word difference is huge. I really appreciate that. And this is really good. I really like the concept of that your brain needs to be available, and that's by reducing the burdens from day to day, which is not only work related or personal related, it's also the cultural and societal expectations, which are internal and external. Never thought about it being internal. Yeah.
Talking about external, well, talk about your environment. What kind of an environment are you in?
Yeah.
The way we build our buildings, the way we built our cities, the proximity with nature. The more you have a proximity with nature, the more your brain is behaving good. The
Yeah.
more you have a good mental health also.
Yeah.
Let's say you're working, if you can at least see outside, it's better than if you don't. If you have anything that reminds you of nature, your brain is better.
Mm-hmm.
Look at also your surroundings, not just what is distracting you, but also what can help you.
Yeah. That to reduce the burden that's on our mental energy. That's why I
Yep.
say a lot of his ADHD is more about mental energy management than anything else.
But we were talking about resiliency. One part of being resilient that can help us is the connection to nature, the connection to other human being, or
Yeah.
connection to nature per
Yeah.
se, or animals. So this is one part that we sometimes forget, and that
Yeah. It's
is
very easy to forget when you're living in a city and then being surrounded by technology all the time.
Mhm.
And then reducing overwhelm to have your brain to be available is very key. And I think that's something that I've been really trying to struggle. I'm still struggling with. I'm getting better every day, but to do it, but to think about it in the contents of burden is very important. And I think the takeaway for today is, I think, is, burdens reduce our mental availability to deal with a new or more things and be able to adapt to changing things as it comes. So I really appreciate this conversation. Where can people find you?
Well, I don't want people to find me per se. I'm overwhelmed myself. So, so what I would suggest that look in your own community, what kind of support groups that you have access to if you're struggling with ADHD, if you're struggling with organization or lifestyle or life crisis or whatever. There are people around you that could help you, resources in your own community. If you're looking for online resources about ADHD, and I would suggest that you go to CADDAC website, caddac.ca. I did a website also with a lot of information about ADHD. That's attention-deficit-info.com. And also, if you want to read me, not reach me, but read me, you can read my books.
That's good. I appreciate it. And I highly recommend the books you did write. That's also available in French and English is Your Brain Still Needs Glasses, or Your Brain Needs Glasses for those were written for children, right?
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. And to you, the reader or the listener, because you're not reading this, you're watching or listening to this, little slip up. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Let me restart this one. What is one thing that you will do today to help reduce the burden on your brain's mental energy so you can be more available and adapt to the changing day? So I'd like to hear from you. You can send me an email at André@theimpulsivethinker.com. It'd be great to hear from you. And Annick, thank you very much again.
Thank you.
And to you, the listener, thanks again for learning with me, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.